subjected the Earth's natural resources to overuse and pollution. Polluted water became the greatest spreader of infection and disease, where supplies were used by animals and humans alike for washing, drinking, and waste. Diseases like cholera and typhoid were carried in water, and a clean water supply was a better weapon against them than any drugs. International organizations declared the 1980s to be a decade of clean water. $35 billion were to be spent on local projects to improve water quality.
It is now my privilege to declare this hand pump open and pray that those who live around here may make the maximum benefit from this water and protect it so that it's not contaminated. And now pump out water.
Villagers were helped to drill wells, install hand pumps, and dig cesspools. But despite the work of engineers and planners the world over, the exploding population was overwhelming efforts to provide clean water and sanitary conditions. In Latin America, population was rising almost as fast as in Africa. The growing numbers overwhelmed the cities. Trash collection, water supply, and sewage disposal couldn't keep up. People lived among their refuse and relieved themselves wherever they happened to be. Here, too, waterborne diseases were the greatest danger to health. Millions used rivers that teem with untreated sewage as their only source of water. Diseases once thought under control began to re-emerge. In 1991, a major cholera epidemic broke out in Peru.
In the mountain town of Cajamarca, Peru, funeral processions pass each other in the street. The priest cannot attend each one. A man offers prayers at his wife's grave while their children weep.
The epidemic spread to much of Peru's countryside. Villagers like Jose Rudas died because they didn't get medical attention in time. His widow had never realized what was wrong with him.
His stomach hurt, his head hurt. He couldn't answer us. He couldn't move. He didn't speak to me. He didn't tell me to stay with his children. Nothing. He didn't say a word. Even his faith seemed to have gone. My son had helped me take him to the hospital. We'd thought he might get better, but he didn't. We took him away dead.
The disease kept spreading, due in part to the custom of holding a 3-day-long wake beside the body before burial.
The vigil went on till I told them to bury him or I'd call the police. They ignored me. They kept vigil, chewing coca. Coca with lime and checker. And they prayed and chanted. Then suddenly, the dead man exploded. Feces and guts all over the mourners. And by 7 in the morning, about 80% of them had cholera. It was dreadful.
For all its devastation, cholera was an old, familiar disease. people knew science could control it if enough money and effort was spent to improve water supplies. But in Africa in the 1980s, the popular hope that science could provide an answer to everything was shaken when a new 20th century plague emerged. It came just at the time diseases already eliminated in the West were at last being tackled in Africa. In school, children acted out the struggle, impersonating the infections that threatened them.
I'm still having some strength, and it is good that these days people overcrowd. That is an advantage to me because I attack so many, and a good number have been hospitalized because of me. I have read in our newspapers that many organizations have launched a campaign against diseases. One is UNICEF, which I hear imported a number of vaccines to kill us all.
But there was nothing that could stop the AIDS virus. It seemed invincible.
You all know me. I'm Mr. Vaccine. Invite me to your board. Campaign for immunization. Campaign for immunization. I came to stay. I can't be shaken anyhow by these medical people. I'm impossible. You can't kill me. I'm impossible. You can't kill me. I'm impossible. You can't kill me. Can't kill me. Can't kill me. Can't kill me.
The sexually transmitted infection spread rapidly along the major highways, carried by truck drivers who visited prostitutes. Children, men, and women all got the disease. The numbers were growing rapidly. In Kenya in 1987, doctors were at a complete loss.
Even the doctors at that particular time did not know how to go about it, telling me that I was HIV positive. So I was told by somebody, a cook in the hospital, and that left me in a state that was really shocking. My family members have been affected. Close relatives have been infected and some have died. Cousins have died because of it. And this has also brought up another problem because most of these relatives have left children. These are now orphans, and they are also being looked after by the aged grandparents, and this has actually become a big problem, not only in my family, but in our society here as a whole.
All governments could do was to try and change sexual habits. Young Africans were shown a film in which, before a couple made love, an angel delivered condoms. The same message was presented in other ways as the disease spread rapidly all over the world.
Dus, vrij verstandig. Voorkom AIDS.
Maintaining the achievements of the past 40 years now seemed to depend on a new kind of life or death propaganda.
Durex, la sécurité au moment où l'on oublie tout.
Though research was intense, doctors were unable to find a drug that would cure the sufferers or prevent infection. Homosexuals were hit worst. Outside the National Institutes of Health in Washington, AIDS sufferers protested that the scientists were failing them. It was the end of the confident belief in medical science. Peter Staley was HIV positive and helped lead a campaign that demanded faster results from the researchers.
I'd experienced venereal diseases in the past, I was always able to pop a pill and it would go away. My experience was that most everything you could get was curable. I, like most people I know who have this virus, were absolutely devastated. A lot of people lost hope. A lot of people died. A lot of people have died. And I don't know now whether science is going to be able to defeat this in time for me and my friends. Frankly, I doubt it.
AIDS brought with it the return of an old enemy, TB. In the richest nation in the world, the crippler was back, because AIDS broke down the immune systems of potential victims. Lenora Alston, a health worker in Brooklyn, visited TB victims at clinics, in their homes, even on the street, to make sure they took their medications.
My experience on the street is that it's an epidemic right now. It's really badly spread in Brooklyn alone now. People are not aware that TB is curable, and they're not taking their medications like they should.
Despite the efforts of people like Lenora Alston, TB did spread at an alarming rate, mostly among the poor, huddled together in homeless shelters. Its return and the onset of AIDS were the first serious reverses in a generally victorious war against disease.